Hello everyone, and welcome to our sixth lesson in the series, Getting Micro with Climate. In this lesson, students will explore the difference between climate, weather, and seasons. We will then be creating a wind vane to help us observe the differences in wind from one place in your yard compared to another. Going deeper, we will think of how this difference in wind can create all sorts of different microclimates. Encourage the use of all five senses. We want kids to smell, listen, feel, see, and maybe not taste, but I'm sure you get the point. Have them really observe these small nuances in small areas. Under a rosemary bush, compared to the grass, or beside the apple tree, compared to the sandy soil where your succulents live. Have students write down these vocabulary terms in their own words. Feel free to pause the screen so that they have time to work through the terms. Following are a couple of visual aids you can show your kids that portray just how microclimates can be formed. These documents can also be found as an additional resource on our website under Series 6. Also, as an additional resource is a worksheet you can use as a guide for a microclimate experiment in your backyard. Have students venture to different areas near your home and use their five senses to gather information on each place's qualities. Notice the differences from area to area. Now over to garden educator Natalie for the activity.
Hello and welcome to our phenomenal series this week with One Cool Earth. So our lesson is Getting Micro with Climate, and we are learning all about the different microclimates that one can find even within a seemingly small space, and kind of discussing and learning how plants and animals adapt or choose to live in certain places depending on these microclimates. And we as humans even, kind of make certain decisions depending on the little climate in an area. Like I'm doing this video here in the shade because it's a bit more comfortable than if I were in the direct sunlight. So a little microclimate action there. So after you kind of went about with your children or your students and observed the different little microclimates that you find in places near your house, what we're going to do now is a little activity that is involving making a wind vane. So we'll be able to see with this little instrument where the wind is blowing a little bit heavier and maybe in what direction the wind is blowing. So the tools that you'll need for the activity today are a paper cup, some sand, soil can work too if it's kind of dense and can be packed rather tightly, and some cardboard, scissors, a stick. I'm using a little piece of driftwood here, but a stick could also work, or even like a popsicle stick could work, and a pin, like a sewing pin or a needle. And what you're going to do with the cardboard is draw and then cut out an arrow. So the arrow is going to act as our spinning majig. So this is going to be spinning around, telling us which direction and how heavily the wind is blowing. And what we're going to do with our paper cup is fill it up with that sand or soil like I have done so here. So it's nice and dense and compact so that the structure will be stable. And you'll use your stick or your little piece of driftwood and stick it down into the paper cup here and kind of tightly pack it in there so that it's not wobbly, really making sure it's secure. And then once you have cut out your paper or your cardboard arrow, you'll take your pin needle and stick it through the cardboard, and then use the pointy end of the pin to stick that down into the driftwood. You can use kind of like a rock or a stone maybe, or if your fingers are strong enough to really push it down into the piece of wood that you have there. And there we have our little wind vane. So kind of a unique wind vane here because I was really going for something that would be plastic free. So some other wind vanes that I found that people made use straws in this way for as the arrow, and kind of cardboard on either side to have little flags. But this one that we have here is totally waste free. The paper cup will decompose eventually. So you can make multiple of these and place them in different areas in your yard, and your kids can kind of go have a look at how the wind is different depending on where you are, and how the wind is definitely a large factor in determining little different microclimates in a place.
Studying microclimates can help us understand a lot about different species. Small-scale variations can play a large role in determining where animals live or choose to spend their time. They can also better equip us for growing food more productively. If we know what qualities a plant likes in its environment, and we understand what microclimates can provide these qualities to plants, then we will have happy plants. Urge your students to think big here and work through these different questions in their garden journals. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.